I lived independently from a young age, a lifelong regretful act of mischief. I lived independently from a young age. That was an ancient custom in our cricket family. Moreover, my mother often told us, "It must be this way, so you learn to forage for yourselves." Children who keep clinging to their parents only develop a sense of dependence, which is bad, and they won't amount to anything in life. Because of this, with every new brood, after laying eggs, the parents would arrange for their offspring to live separately. In that brood, there were 3 of us siblings in total. The 3 of us only stayed with our mother for 3 days. On the 3rd day, our mother went ahead, and the 3 of us tottered along, excited, half worried, half happy, following behind. Mother led us, and placed each of us in a separate earthen burrow on the other side of the rice field, facing the pond. I didn't know when she had meticulously dug and built these clean burrows and homes for us. I was the youngest, the smallest, so after leading me into my burrow, my mother also left a few tender blades of grass at the entrance, so that if I felt disoriented, I would have some ready food for a few days. Then my mother returned. I wasn't sad. On the contrary, I felt comfortable being alone in an airy, cool place. I secretly thanked my mother and then rummaged around, exploring all the burrows she had provided. After carefully examining them, I stood outside the entrance and looked up at the sky. Through the sharp, pointed grass, I saw the clear blue sky. I cleared my throat, flapped my small wings to my armpits, and then, in high spirits, chirped a few loud sounds. From here, I began my life. Whether I would be happy or miserable depended on whether my character was wise or foolish. But I didn't need to know or consider that yet. For now, simply being free and independent on my own was something I greatly enjoyed. Every day, I would spend the entire morning burrowing deep into my cave, diligently digging to excavate a large den, making it into a luxurious bed. Then, with foresight like the elders in the cricket family, I dug deep passages in 2 directions, creating shortcuts, back entrances, and upper nooks in case of danger, so I could escape through another way. In the early evening, I would temporarily rest my hands and stand outside the entrance, gathering with my neighbors around the edge of the rice field, playing music and singing a sunset song to bid farewell to the sun. When night had fully fallen, our entire neighborhood, even the old, decrepit elder crickets, would suddenly become cheerful. Everyone would come out of their burrows and gather in large numbers in the middle of the field on the cool, dark night, drinking dew, eating wet grass, and the talented ones would play instruments and sing, dancing wildly until dawn, until the familiar sun solemnly appeared in the east, and then the party would break up, and everyone would return home. Every day, And every night, every morning, and every evening, it was the same routine of work and play. Life like that was quite leisurely, but at first it felt interesting, then gradually became boring. Because I ate moderately and worked in moderation, I grew up very quickly. Before long, I had become a strong young cricket. My legs were plump and shiny. The claws on my feet and hocks gradually hardened and sharpened. Occasionally, wanting to test the sharpness of my claws, I would flex my legs and kick violently at the blades of grass. The grass blades would snap off as if a knife had just swept through them. My wings, which were once short and stubby, now formed a long coat that reached down to the tip of my tail. Whenever I flapped them, I could hear a crisp, fluttering sound. When I walked, my whole body shimmered with a glossy, oily brown that was reflective and very pleasing to look at. My two black, shiny teeth always chewed noisily like two working scythes. My antennae were long and curved, giving me a very heroic appearance. I was very proud of those antennae to my relatives. Every now and then, I would solemnly and leisurely raise both my legs to stroke my antenna. I walked with a majestic gait. With every step, I would deliberately twitch my shins and swing my two antennae up and down. This was to show off my martial prowess. I was very bold. I dared to pick fights with all the neighbors in the commune. When I spoke loudly, everyone would yield. No one would answer back. This was because everyone around was used to me without speaking. Perhaps they respected me more than they feared me, but I thought that no one dared to utter a peep. Thus, I thought I was excellent. Brash individuals often perform arrogant gestures as a sign of great talent. I yelled at some grasshoppers living at the edge of the field, so every time they saw me pass by, they would hide their oval faces under a blade of grass, only daring to peek out. Occasionally, I would get an itchy leg and kick, teasing An Gong Vo, who was muddy and bewildered, just coming up from the pond. I increasingly thought I was formidable and could soon be at the top of the world. Oh dear, little did I know that when one is young and often aggressive, arrogant, and rude, they only bring trouble upon themselves to pay for their foolish actions. I had to experience such a situation. Even after escaping the danger, I still felt so much regret, endless regret. Only then did I realize that if one acts without thinking and foolish things happen, even if one regrets it later, it cannot be undone. The first regrettable story I remember for my entire life. Next to my burrow was Dechote's burrow. Dechote was the name I mockingly and condescendingly gave him. Chote was probably about my age, but because Chote was inherently weak, I looked down on him, and he was very afraid of me. This Dechote was thin and lanky like an opium addict. Even though he was young, his wings were so short, only reaching his mid-back, exposing both his sides like someone shirtless wearing a vest. His legs were flat and clumsy, looking ugly. His antennae were short, just a stub, and his face always looked vacant and confused. Moreover, his nature was to live for the moment truly, only because he was constantly ill and unable to work. His burrow was only dug shallowly near the surface. He didn't know how to dig deep and create many passages like my burrow. One day, I visited him and saw his house was messy and cluttered. So I said, "How can you live so carelessly? Your house is so flimsy. If someone came to destroy it, you would surely die immediately. Look, when you crawl into your nest, your back bumps right up against the surface of the earth. So anyone on the grass looking over knows exactly where you are in your nest. What if a kestrel bird sees you, thinks you're prey, and pecks you once, hitting you right in the back? Then you'd be gone for good. Oh, my dear friend, you're grown up but not wise." Thinking back, I was just speaking for my own satisfaction. I didn't pay attention to what Dichote was lamenting. At that time, I was conceited. I only listened to myself and didn't listen to anyone else, not even caring if anyone was listening to me. Dichote replied to me in a very sad voice, "Sir, I also want to be wise, but I can't. As soon as I start working, I get out of breath. I don't have the strength to dig anymore. Many times, I also think that a house like this is dangerous, but I am too weak. I have been worried for months and still don't know what to do. Or maybe I plan to do this, but I only dare to speak if you allow me." Then Dichote hesitated and worried. I had to say, "All right, just speak your mind plainly." Dichote looked at me and said, "Since you have taken pity on me, how about you help me dig a passage to your house? In case something happens in the dark and someone comes to bully me, I can run over." Before he could finish, I snorted, exhaled a long breath, and with a disdainful attitude, I scolded, "Humph! A passage to my house? How dare you? You smell like an owl. How can I stand it? Stop that sniveling, rainy song. Dig a shallow nest and die." I returned without a single worry. One evening, I stood at the entrance of my burrow as usual, watching the sunset. The past few days, there had been heavy rain on the ponds and lakes around the field in front. The water had risen, vast and white. When the water was full and fresh, crabs and fish would busily swim up and down. So countless egrets, cranes, night herons, cormorants, teal, coots, wild ducks, pelicans, gulls, and parrots from sparse riverbanks far away all flew back to the new water to find food. All day long, they would quarrel noisily at the four corners of the pond, sometimes just over a tiny shrimp. Some emaciated egrets would wade through the mud daily until their legs turned purple. Yet they still poked their beaks out without getting a single bite. How miserable! Those weak creatures, struggling so hard, yet still unable to survive. I stood in the shadow of the evening sun, casting its light on the water at the entrance of my burrow, pondering life's affairs like this. Suddenly, I saw Cheetah fly up from the water and land near my burrow, just a few steps away. Having probably found something and finished eating, she came to a cool spot to preen her feathers and wings and wipe her beak. I was usually quite mischievous. Even when it didn't concern me, I would scheme to tease Cheetah. I called out to Dechot. Hearing his reply, I asked, "Do you want to play a game with me?" "What kind of game? I'm having an asthma attack right now." Just a little game." Humph. What is it?" "That old woman cock over there." Dechot went to the entrance, squinting at Cheetah. Then he asked me, "That plump Cheetah standing in front of our house, right?" "Yes." "Oh no. I beg you with all 6 hands. I'm so scared of that old woman. You should be afraid too. That's what's right." I glared. "Scared of what? What do you say I'm scared of? Do you say I'm afraid of anyone more than myself?" "Sir, well then, I'll be scared. You can just play by yourself." I scolded Dechot again and said, "You coward. Open your eyes and watch me tease that old woman cock." I waited until Cheetah turned her head towards my burrow while preening her wings. Then I chirped melodically. Cheetah heard us singing faintly from underground, and not understanding what it was, she flapped her wings with a start, wanting to fly. When she regained her composure, she wide-eyed raised her wings as if preparing to fight. She cautiously approached the entrance of my burrow and asked, "Who's talking behind my back? Who's talking behind my back?" I immediately dove into my burrow, lay comfortably on my bed with my legs crossed. I thought to myself with amusement, "You can be angry all you want. You can hit your head until it cracks and becomes smaller. No matter how small you are, you won't be able to crawl into my nest." A disaster came that an egoistic person could not foresee, that is, not seeing me. Cheetah saw Dechot struggling in the entrance of his burrow, and Cheetah immediately roared, "What did you say?" "Please, ma'am, I didn't say anything." Then Dechot scurried inside, denying it. "Huh? Deny this. Deny this." With each "deny this," Cheetah delivered a peck. Coke's beak was like an iron awl piercing through the earth. Struck by 2 pecks while hiding in his burrow, Cho's spine twisted, and he cried out loudly, even hiding deep underground. I was terrified and lay perfectly still. But having vented her anger, Cheecock preened her feathers and wings for a moment longer, and then flew back down to the completely oblivious to the suffering she had just caused. Knowing Cheecock was gone, I timidly crawled out. Seeing me, Chot wept bitterly. I asked a foolish question. What? Chot couldn't get up anymore, lying there faintly breathing. Seeing this, I knelt down in a panic, lifted Chot's head, and lamented. I had no idea it would come to this. I regret it so much. I regret it terribly. Your death is entirely due to my reckless foolishness. What can I do now? I didn't expect Chot to say this to me. It's okay. I'm too weak now. I can die. But before I close my eyes, I advise you, in life, if you have a habit of being aggressive and unruly, if you have a brain but don't know how to think, sooner or later, you will bring trouble upon yourself. And then Chot passed away. I felt immense pity and remorse for my actions. If I hadn't teased Cheecock, Chot wouldn't have been hurt. And me, if I hadn't quickly run into my burrow, I would have died too. I carried Chot's body and buried him in a patch of overgrown grass. I built a large mound for his grave. I stood silently for a long time, thinking about my first life lesson.